this week, I want us to focus on the older brother solely. So this morning we're just going to look at the older brother's response, and I called this message Today's Older Brother, because basically what we're going to do is we're going to see how the older brother's attitude is fully alive still today in our very own hearts sometimes, in our very own lives, and often most prevalent in the church, not outside the church. So this message is specifically for us. And so I could have called the prodigal, of course, the older brother in this story. He's lost. He's a picture of the Pharisees. I've already helped you in the first message connect the two sons as who the audience would have saw themselves as. So Jesus' intention is to see, for the Pharisees, to see themselves as the older brother. And obviously Jesus thinks that the Pharisees are not his followers, and therefore the Pharisees are not Christians. In other words, the Pharisees are not going to heaven. They do not have a true relationship with the Father. And that's obvious in other places in the Bible when Jesus tells them that they are of their father the devil, and he says, "Get away from me, you brood of vipers." So Jesus doesn't have a very fond opinion of Pharisees, even though the Pharisees themselves have a very fond opinion of themselves. And as we'll see, they are much like the older brother. Here, we're just going to go through 6 points that are signs of the older brother alive in you, in us today. Signs of the older brother alive in us. But let me read the passage. I'm just going to read where we pick up with the older brother this week, just to get it fresh in our head. It's starting in verse 25. It says, "Now his older son was in the field, and as he came and drew near the house, he heard music and dancing. So he called one of the servants and asked what these things meant. And he said to him, 'Your brother has come, and because he has received him safe and sound, your father has killed the fatted calf.' But he was angry and would not go in. And therefore his father came out and pleaded with him. And so he answered and said to his father, 'Lo, these many years I have been serving you. I never disobeyed your commandment at any time. Yet you never gave me a young goat that I might make merry with my friends. But as soon as this son of yours came, who has devoured your livelihood with prostitutes, you killed the fatted calf for him?' And he said to him, 'Son, you are always with me, and all that I have is yours. It was right that we should make merry and be glad, for your brother was dead and is alive, was lost and is found.'" So signs of the older brother alive in us. First sign that the older brother tendencies are alive in us is that you are more concerned about the work of man than the work of God. You're more concerned about the work of man than the work of God. This passage, verse 25, our families are. But this older brother, he was a hard worker. He worked hard. He wanted to please his father, and he was out in the field and working there. But he was so concerned about the work being done by him and the work that hadn't been done by the older brother who'd been gone, that he was so distracted by the world's work that he couldn't be excited that God has been at work. The brother came back. This is completely amazing. How in the world? I mean, just think about the guilt that he had to shed. The response that the father could have had. The younger son didn't know what the father was going to do. He simply wanted to be a servant and just to take to be willing to return, not knowing what the father is going to respond, how the father is going to respond, because in their society, the father could have disowned the younger son completely for what he did and said, "No, we don't want you back here, just go." And that would have been perfectly all right in their society just to do that. But And that's the shock of it, is that the father accepts the younger son. And so the older brother, he cannot see that God has obviously been at work in leading the older brother to come to this point of repenting, and how amazing it is for him just to admit his own guilt and come back and say, Father, I've sinned against heaven, I've sinned against you, and no longer worthy to be called your son. He admits, I mean, come on, that is huge, humbling. If we understand the process of how people are humbled and come to that place where they truly are humble and willing to admit, because, I mean, that's like pulling teeth out of somebody to get them to admit they're wrong. We just don't want to do that. And when somebody does it, all we can say is, man, that's a work of God. That's amazing. That is completely amazing. He was more concerned about, I've been here all this time. I've worked and I've never disobeyed your commands. I've done this. He's just stressing the fact that he's worked hard and his brother hasn't. And he's more concerned here in this passage that what his younger brother has done wrong in the past than what he is doing right in the present.